That's right. 2 videos in 24 hours. The holidays are over, baby. Let's get back to work. Now, I'm very critical and vocal about people who call out other people on X within the UFO space, accusing them of being grifters, liars, especially when they're not bringing any evidence to support their claims, because it just muddies the waters, right? It's just gross negativity that makes the murkiness of disclosure even harder to navigate than it already is. But the irony here is that one of the most vocal accounts that do this is actually someone I respect and have a lot of time for and listen to what they have to say. And before we get into that, my name is Josh. Welcome to Polarity. If you like getting dragged down rabbit holes and connecting the dots of disclosure, please consider subscribing and liking the video. We do all these videos live and in one take, so if you like to keep it raw and real, this is a place to be. Now, today, we're going to be talking about Red Panda Koala. This man right here. Now, Red Panda has established himself as kind of, in my opinion, the GOAT of UFO clips, news, updates, especially on X. I mean, I use his clips all the time. He's like the go-to source for up-to-date things with just what's going on, who's on what podcast, whatever. He's been around a while though. Like, that's not all he's done, and I'm sure you've probably heard his name somewhere along the line if you've been in this space for a little while. Red Panda was actually making UFO documentaries on YouTube for years. And he was even featured on the Jesse Michaels American Alchemy show.
That's very true. Yeah, I think a lot of people will have to, and even then, people are gonna be like, "I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. Yeah,
This is a op.
Mm-hmm.
We're part of the op." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, more recently, he's become extremely vocal about certain players within the UFO space being dishonest. And the main target of that is Lue Elizondo. Now, Red has really got his sights on Lue, and we're going to get into why that is. And, you know, I've always said that there are many valid question marks above Lue Elizondo's head. I mean, you can go right back to my, before I was even doing YouTube, go back to my first TikTok videos, and I was talking about this. Now, I don't like to make accusations and accuse people of things because I can't prove it. But, you know, I'm more than happy to talk about it, and I'm more than happy to entertain the inconsistencies around the narrative that is created by people like Lue. But if I can't actually prove it, I'm not going to start throwing stones. Now, partially why I have time for Red is obviously his well-earned reputation within the space as a documentary maker and on this topic. But also, he does a fantastic job of actually providing evidence with his claims, which is why I have time for him and why I'm willing to listen. Now, I can't say the evidence is 100% concrete, but it's certainly enough that I think we should at least be paying attention to it. Now, let me just get this out of the way for now. I also want to say that Red is extremely active on X, especially around this issue. And I'll put my hand up and say that I haven't read every post or repost that he's made to prove his point, because there are a lot. He's very active. But I have read and seen enough to agree that there is something that deserves a little bit more attention here. Now, to kind of summarize quickly for you, what he believes is kind of going on here is that anybody who speaks badly about Lue Elizondo specifically online, or tries to maybe highlight things that he has said or that he has done that don't quite add up, they get swarmed by trolls, fake accounts, harassing them, threatening them, doxing them, even threatening them legally sometimes. And while there's no direct evidence here to suggest that Lue or his crew, as Red Panda sort of refers to it, is responsible, in the last few months, I think it was at the December last year, Red Panda Koala lost his entire YouTube channel to what seems to be like baseless and completely random and fraudulent copyright claims. And as I said, Red does a great job of articulating his points and highlighting his reasoning and bringing receipts to the table, because that's what we need. If people are going to throw stones and call names, we want to see a reason for it or some evidence. And as we take a look here, this is the first instance of the fraudulent copyright strikes that eventuated in Red losing his YouTube channel. So you can see here that he posted a video about the New Jersey drones on the 16th of December. He titled it Orb UFO Seen in New Jersey. Now, this received a copyright strike by a company or a business named Viral Hog. Now, this is obviously just a video that was taken by someone else that he reposted, which I've done many times on this channel, right? We kind of share the cool videos and UFO sightings that we see. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see this person, Zane Obscura. This is the original poster of the video. And after this happened to Red Panda, this was the statement that the original poster made. I'll read it quickly for you. He says, "Although I'm hesitant to confirm anything since it's already out there, I can confirm this is the video I captured. It was originally posted under a different handle on Reddit and TikTok. Both accounts have since been deleted and the videos were removed everywhere I uploaded them. My video on TikTok was taken down by Viral Hog, even though it was my own video. The Reddit post was removed before I was visited by the FBI the following day. More on that story can be found in an article linked on my X profile. I want to clarify that I did not submit any copyright requests or have anything to do with the video being copyrighted. I've reached out to Viral Hog but haven't heard back yet. I'll update if I do. Additionally, once the connection was made that this video was tied to me, my X account was flagged without explanation. I've submitted an appeal, but it does feel like efforts are being made to silence me. To be clear, I don't think I captured anything too crazy. Honestly, the video seems tame compared to other things, but the series of coincidences here is undeniably strange. I want to make this very clear. One of the reasons I deleted all of my social media was because I was doxxed. My full name, address, and personal details were exposed. I have a wife and 2 small kids at home. I don't need that kind of threat to my family. Now that this video is tied to me again, even under an anonymous account here, if I am doxxed again, I will have no choice but to delete this profile." So this was the first instance, 16th of December. And then we had this. Another fraudulent copy strike. So you can see here on the left, this was the strike that killed the entire channel of Red Panda Koala that has been, I don't know how many subscribers he had, but it was a lot. He had years worth of really high quality documentaries on the topic. And you can see here, he's posted a video with Michael Schellenberger on some kind of, on Fox News, talking about the drones. And there's been a copyright strike you can see on the right-hand side here. So the content that YouTube are claiming was used is called funniest cartoons for people with ASMR, hashtag ASMR cartoon. It says that this content was found during the very beginning of the video, right up to 3.5 minutes. And the content removal request was by someone called Hanson Ewan. And there's their contact info underneath that. And as you can see there, Red Panda highlights, for one, how is this the funniest cartoons with ASMR? It's Michael Schellenberger on the news talking about the mystery drones. And who is Hanson Ewan? Like, who is this person? Who is making these claims? And as baseless as this claim appears, this was literally the straw that broke the camel's back. So that is what killed Red Panda's entire work on YouTube and probably a solid portion of his income, which just vanished overnight. Now, like I said, can we prove that Lue Elizondo or someone around him is behind this? No. But for one of the most vocal opponents of Lue, which Red Panda probably is, and his claims are around the fact that anyone who speaks out gets attacked from all angles online, to have such a drastic action taken against their very well-established YouTube account with what appears to be a completely fabricated claim is extremely odd. Okay, so this brings us to the main story of today. This is Kelly Chase, and she hosts a podcast called the UFO Rabbit Hole. Now, she just recently, in the last 24 hours, announced that she will no longer be making any more episodes of the show. Now, I'll show you the clip why she decided to do that, but to summarize quickly, she feels like the whole disclosure movement is just a farce designed to keep people spinning in circles that just lead nowhere. So with this shock announcement, naturally, Red Panda, being the up-to-date source of news that he is, uploaded a clip on X with the news that kind of, well, he included some additional text, right? So let's just take a look at that quickly. So I've blurred out the middle because the middle part is literally just a quote from the clip, and I'm going to play you that clip anyway, so you don't need to worry about that. But I just want to show you the context that Red Panda Koala himself added to this. So it started off by saying UFO Rabbit Hole podcast ends show and calls out Disclosure and Elizondo for the first time. He then gave some quotes that you're about to hear in the video, and he finished off by saying Kelly Chase's documentary series is on Apple TV, and for years she has been part of the Lue crew. She has a background in PR. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm familiar. We can get rid of this for now. I'm not going to pretend that I'm familiar with Kelly Chase's work, okay? I can't comment here either way if she is part of the Lue crew or anything like that. But Red Panda obviously believes that Kelly was a supporter of Lue Elizondo for a long time and has been part of the online personalities who would defend him and potentially the ones who would attack others who spoke out against him. Now, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore because in the clip of Kelly Chase breaking down the reason for her ending her podcast, she kind of calls Lue out in a way. So I'm not going to say any more on that. I'm just going to show you guys the clip.
All good things must come to an end. And this podcast and the international community that has sprung up around it has been a very good thing. It's been one of the best things in my life, which is why it's hard to actually say the words that this episode will be the last episode of the UFO rabbit hole. I made the case on this podcast more than once that what we were witnessing was an unprecedented movement led by brave patriots within the military intelligence apparatus that were putting everything on the line, even their lives, to bring UFO disclosure to the public. I don't believe that anymore. Most, if not all, of what we've seen on the disclosure front since 2017 has been theater, designed and acted out with those core objectives in mind. I'm going to commit the highest form of heresy that one can commit in this field. I'm going to say the thing that everyone knows is objectively true, but that no one is allowed to say, which is this. The disclosures that we've gotten from whistleblowers so far have come from known and in most cases current members of the intelligence community. Most, if not all of them, still hold high-level security clearances and still work, whether directly or as contractors for the DoD or for aerospace defense companies. In many cases, it's both. And the information shared with us by those whistleblowers is the information that has been approved by the DoD through DOPSR. The fact that it's so controversial to even acknowledge these basic truths is because the disclosure narrative is doing exactly the things that it's supposed to do. It's getting people invested in a story and in personalities that they want to believe in enough to not just overcome cognitive dissonance, but to deputize them to help further this narrative. If you want to see how absolute and insidious the narrative control is, just try this little experiment. Log on to Reddit or X and try posting a direct quote about Lue Elizondo, in his own words, from his own book, explaining that he was recruited into OSAP by James Lukatsky to run counterintelligence for the program, without adding any further commentary, and see how that goes for you.
Left the Department of Defense, ironically enough, to finish the very mission they gave me in the first place. I didn't ask for it. I'm not a UFO guy, not a ufologist. I never have been, I never will be. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I just do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community.
It's a fact about Lue that we only know because he told us, and yet no one is allowed to say it, much less raise any kind of legitimate questions about what it might actually mean, because those are questions that no one really wants to know the answer to. I'm no longer willing to overlook the glaring evidence that the disclosure narrative, at least as it's been presented to the public, is largely a fabrication. When you look at what's happening objectively, I think that's hard to deny. And though I'll admit to experiencing a significant amount of disillusion and weathering a long series of dark nights of the soul over that realization, I ultimately don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I could wax poetic for hours about the different ways to read this situation, how the tangled web of alliances, agendas, and competing interests could explain why things have unfolded the way that they have without requiring that everyone involved be a mustache-twisting villain. But at the end of the day, that's all speculation. The truth is, I don't actually know what's going on, and neither do you, and that's the point. Whatever the disclosure movement is, whatever teams the various experts and whistleblowers ultimately play for, this is not a game that we get to play. We don't even get to know the rules. We're just spectators watching a performance where we have no way of knowing who's actually pulling the strings. And frankly, I wouldn't even want to. I've seen enough at this point to know that there are aspects of this that are very dark, very disturbing, and absolutely dangerous for anyone who wanders too close. I don't believe that it's possible to get real answers from these people anyways, so why would I bother? To be honest, I'm just no longer interested.
So with the post from Red Panda and the video that we've just seen, there are now accusations kind of flying around everywhere against Kelly, against Lue, Red. It's obviously like kind of messy now, right? Well, there's another UFO channel who I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with, and that is Patrick from Vetted. What are you doing in my room, Patrick? Now, he does daily videos, usually kind of a lot shorter form than what you get on this channel. But man, the guy works hard. Like, he's always got a video up basically every day with whatever's kind of going on in UFO land. So shout out to Patrick and to Vetted. So today, after Red Panda posted this clip, Patrick reached out to Kelly and to Red Panda and asked them for a statement to kind of clarify things a little bit further and clear up these accusations, to just kind of get some clear answers here. He said that he got a statement back from Kelly Chase, but he never heard back from Red Panda. Now, I've spoken to Red Panda quite a few times, and he's even agreed to come on this channel, and I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the video. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the clip of Patrick reading out the statement from Kelly Chase in response to the video that we just watched that was posted by Red Panda.
While the video being circulated by Red Panda Koala contains parts of what I said in the final episode of the UFO Rabbit Hole, it has been heavily edited and strung together to both remove nuance and to tailor my words to a narrative that I don't agree with. The audio has also been deceptively paired with video clips used without permission from the docuseries that I wrote and executive produced, Cosmosis UFOs, A New Reality, along with other media projects in the space, in a way that could lead people to believe that the clear biases demonstrated in that video are mine. They're not. There's a lot of important context that has been stripped from the episode, but the most important points are these. Number one, I decided to move away from covering disclosure in my work, not because of any grand conspiracy that I saw at work, but because I realized that the Department of Defense is never going to tell us the full truth about the nature of the UFO phenomenon, because that's not the job that they are set up to do. Every aspect of the DoD is designed to address and mitigate security threats, not to tell people about the nature of their reality. And in that respect, I don't believe that the people involved with disclosure are mustache-twisting villains, but rather people who are doing their jobs. Number two, that heavily edited clip has also been used to suggest that I was making some sort of an accusation against Lue Elizondo. What I said about Lue was within the context of making the point that the community self-enforces its own narratives and often chooses not to see what we don't want to see. I'm not someone who thinks that there are paid disinfo agents under every rock, because I don't think there needs to be. The human tendency toward a herd mentality and the current cultural norm of actively policing ideas that don't align with one's own means that the community mostly does this to itself. Number three, and finally, this episode wasn't about calling people out and holding other people accountable for their perceived misdeeds. It was about holding myself accountable by examining my own beliefs and how they've changed over the last 3 years. The only person of whom I was truly critical in that episode was myself. I think that is the healthiest and most productive form of skepticism, and so that's where I focus my efforts. Any attempt by others to use my work to score points against anyone else in the field is disingenuous and opposed to everything that I stand for.
So Kelly clearly has a big problem with the video that was posted by Red Panda Koala. Now, before I go any further, as I said, I'm not familiar with Kelly Chase or her podcast at all. So when I first watched the video posted by Red Panda, I didn't realize that it was just Kelly's audio podcast with clips that Red Panda had stitched over the top of it himself. Now, that might seem like naive or silly to someone who is familiar with the podcast, but I mean, the word podcast it's used so loosely these days that often podcasts are video format as well. And I just assumed that this was some kind of compilation from her podcast or something like that. Now, and also Red Panda always throws his little watermark over the content that he uploads, even if it's just a short clip with no editing. So I had no idea that they were a whole bunch of clips that he had sewed together. And I will agree that if we rewatch that clip now, you do realize how much the video allows the audio to be kind of twisted and directed in a certain way, implying certain people that Kelly Chase may not have necessarily been referring to or meaning at all. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it again, but just bear with me. I'm going to play it on 2x speed because as like an ADHD person, the thought of watching a video that I just watched again makes me want to peel my eyeballs out. So I'm going to speed it up, but I'm doing it because now that you understand that, now that you have the context that someone else has made this video and you listen to the audio and it's been made independently, you realize how much the video kind of twists the narrative potentially of the audio.
All good things must come to an end. And this podcast and the international community that has sprung up around it has been a very good thing. It's been one of the best things in my life, which is why it's hard to actually say the words that this episode will be the last episode of the UFO rabbit hole. I made the case on this podcast more than once that what we were witnessing was an unprecedented movement led by brave patriots within the military intelligence apparatus that were putting everything on the line, even their lives, to bring UFO disclosure to the public. I don't believe that anymore. Most, if not all, of what we've seen on the disclosure front since 2017 has been theater, designed and acted out with those core objectives in mind. I'm going to commit the highest form of heresy that one can commit in this field. I'm going to say the thing that everyone knows is objectively true, but that no one is allowed to say, which is this. The disclosures that we've gotten from whistleblowers so far have come from known and in most cases current members of the intelligence community. Most, if not all of them, still hold high-level security clearances and still work, whether directly or as contractors for the DoD or for aerospace defense companies. In many cases, it's both. And the information shared with us by those whistleblowers is the information that has been approved by the DoD through DOPSR. The fact that it's so controversial to even acknowledge these basic truths is because the disclosure narrative is doing exactly the things that it's supposed to do. It's getting people invested in a story and in personalities that they want to believe in enough to not just overcome cognitive dissonance, but to deputize them to help further this narrative. If you want to see how absolute and insidious the narrative control is, just try this little experiment. Log on to Reddit or X and try posting a direct quote about Lue Elizondo, in his own words, from his own book, explaining that he was recruited into OSAP by James Lukatsky to run counterintelligence for the program, without adding any further commentary, and see how that goes for you.
The Department of Defense, ironically enough, to finish the very mission they gave me in the first place. I didn't ask for it. I'm not a UFO guy, not a ufologist. I never have been, I never will be. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community.
It's a fact about Lue that we only know because he told us, and yet no one is allowed to say it, much less raise any kind of legitimate questions about what it might actually mean, because those are questions that no one really wants to know the answer to. I'm no longer willing to overlook the glaring evidence that the disclosure narrative, at least as it's been presented to the public, is largely a fabrication. When you look at what's happening objectively, I think that's hard to deny. And though I'll admit to experiencing a significant amount of disillusion and weathering a long series of dark nights of the soul over that realization, I ultimately don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
Did you make it through without skipping? If you did, congratulations, your brain isn't completely rotted yet. Now, I've got a few things to say about that, and we're going to break it down, right? But I just want to give a little note. Like the fact that it is independently edited to the audio, I've studied film, and dude, great storytelling, great visual storytelling to the audio. Like it's really good editing, whether it's deceptive or not, it's good. So let's get into that. Some people might consider this like a deceptive move from Red Panda. And yeah, it certainly could be taken that way. But it also may not have been his intention, right? Like he could have just taken that audio and decided to create his own sort of visual interpretation of it and obviously that's going to be within the framework of his own perspective. It doesn't necessarily mean like there was evil, bad intentions to like manipulate someone's words. Like he's a content creator. He's going to hear that. And, you know, as an artist myself, you get inspiration and you kind of start creating. But I can see how it could be taken as a manipulative thing for sure. And I have to be honest and say that it feels like Kelly Chase's statement is like trying to wriggle her way out of some things that she did kind of clearly say, or at least allude to. So let's take a look at some of those things, right? She said that all the voices in the disclosure movement are government or intelligence officials who still work for, in some capacity, the government or the Pentagon. And like she said that. And this is a completely fair statement. I don't think she needs to be like backpedaling out of this. It is true. And it's a very valid concern. Like, I think she should be standing by that. Like, she shouldn't be trying to go like, oh, I didn't mean that. I was talking more about myself than anyone else. Like, no, you said that. And it's a good thing to say. Like, I would be standing by that. She also did directly name drop Lue Elizondo. And she said, try posting a direct quote about him being recruited by James Lukatsky and see what happens. Like, there's no editing there. There's no audio splicing that's happened there. And that completely aligns with everything Red Panda has been saying for a long time and the experiences that he has had doing so. She also blatantly says that the disclosure narrative has been presented to the public is a fabrication. Well, who has presented that narrative? Well, Lue Elizondo has, David Grush, Carl Nell, Jake Barber. These are all the military and intelligence officials that she mentioned at the start. She didn't drop the names, but she's saying it without saying it. Like, if you read between the lines, that's what she's saying, like that these people are kind of bullshitting us. And look, I can't prove this to you. Neither can Kelly Chase. In fact, I actually think she says that in the clip. But the quotes that she's saying are valid. Like she has the grounds and fair reason to be saying these kind of things. And I think we can all agree that disclosure is a little bit of a circus, right? We all want the truth. And it does feel like we are slowly kind of getting it, or some version of it. But when it seems to be coming from the agencies that covered it up in the first place, like until we get some I've always said this, until we get some genuine like accountability and transparency, every single one of the things that Kelly Chase said in that video is a fair statement or a question mark, in my opinion. Like, these are the people who have covered it up. So fair play, you're trying to tell us about psionics and all these little things. That's all good. But how about you put your hand up and say, yeah, we covered this up. This is why we did it. This is what happened in 1947 and between now and then. You know, until you give us accountability, no one's going to fully believe you. Apologies. I know I say we do this in one take, but my camera overheated. So now this is 2 takes. But as we were saying, so she says that there are aspects to this that are dark, disturbing, and dangerous to anyone who wanders too close. This is, again, the same sentiment that Red Panda has been very vocal about and experienced for a long time. So it's weird, right? Like, why does she seem to be backpedaling so hard on her statements in the video? And like, it makes you wonder, like, is she afraid of the repercussions that Red Panda Koala talks about and has faced? Did she feel like saying these things on an audio-only podcast wouldn't maybe land as heavily as they would with some video attached to it that kind of puts a little bit more weight into her words and who she's talking about? Because yes, I can understand how editing together some clips can totally manipulate someone's words into appearing like they're speaking about something that they're not. But I've watched and listened to that clip a few times now. And yes, there are maybe 1 or 2 instances where Red's sort of firm stance on Lue really sticks out in the video, and perhaps more than was intended. But when you read between the lines with what she's saying, I really don't think the video is manipulative at all, personally. I think it's a pretty accurate and fair representation of the story that she's telling. So what do you guys think? Like, how do you feel about the video? Do you think it's manipulative? Like, or is this maybe just an artistic interpretation of audio to video? That's what I personally think. I feel like this is Red Panda Koala's own just sort of artistic interpretation. And naturally, we are going to see some of the artist's own personal influence shine through in their work. Now, the only part that I can argue is kind of manipulative is the bit where the audio of Lue Elizondo actually cuts in, and he's kind of saying something that, like, you know, he is a counter intel guy, and he was asked to use those skills in the legacy UAP program. And then it cuts to Kelly saying something like, we only know this because he told us, and now we're not allowed to ask questions. Like, it fits and flows perfectly. Like I said, great editing. When I watched it the first time, I thought this was all part of her podcast. But given the context of the situation and what we know now, I think we can assume that that clip is likely not what she was talking about, although it is probably likely something along those lines, right? So, as I said, let me get this up here. I've spoken to Red Panda Koala a few times over X, and all of my interactions with him have been friendly or helpful. And I don't like to get involved with the drama too much, but when there seems to be some kind of substantial evidence floating around about something within this space, I don't think it should be ignored either, even if it is like a little bit controversial. So I actually reached out to Red Panda while I was in Japan, and I asked him if he would like to come on the show. Hold on, that's not it. There we go. Few technical difficulties. We do this show live. So I asked him if he wanted to come on the show, right? I said that, you know, I want to talk about all the things that he talks about. Like, I want to hear his experiences firsthand, his opinions, and his reasoning for his vocal stance on the matter. And most importantly, I want him to bring some of the evidence that he has on the show. And by evidence, I mean like the screenshots, the little infographics that he makes where he sort of connects all the dots and he shows receipts on people or accounts who have been actively harassing and working overtime to sort of control the agenda of disclosure or just harass people online, because he does have a whole catalog of this stuff. And as you can see here, he hit me back, and in my DMs, we can get rid of this now. He said that he was down to come on the show. He said he would give me a link to an archive of all of his old videos that were taken off of YouTube, which is awesome. And I hit him back a few times to try to keep the ball rolling. But like Patrick from Vetted said, I haven't heard anything back yet. But I'm sure the dude's inbox gets like assaulted daily because he's got a lot of followers. Like I said, he's a pretty well-known account, and he's probably very busy watching podcasts all day and night and curating the insane amount of clips that he does, because it's just wild how up to date he is with everything that's going on. But hopefully I'll hear back from him soon. So if you guys think that would be cool and you want to see Red Panda Koala on the channel and hear about the dark side of disclosure, hit him up on X. Tag me, get on his page, and tell him to come on Polarity, and that we want to hear his side of the story. I'll make sure I leave a link to his X account in the show notes as well, so you can do that. You can also go on his account and just go down the rabbit hole, look through his endless clips and the receipts that he's been posting for a very long time. And while I'm here, Red Panda, if you happen to be watching this, please make your X clips downloadable. Okay, I got no issues with giving you the shout outs for the clips, but right now I have to screen record them like an absolute bum, and the quality gets destroyed. And it just sucks, honestly. So help a brother out, make Red Panda clips downloadable so we can spread the word of what is actually going on here. Now, guys, if you haven't already, please follow me on my other platforms. So I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram over there. A lot of people have been saying that they can't find my channel. They say when they search Polarity, this doesn't come up. Now, I know it doesn't, but you can. If you search Josh Polarity, you will get the channel, okay? That is my actual YouTube handle. That is how you can find me. But searching Polarity and not getting this channel will not be a problem for much longer, okay? We are locking in now. This channel is going to boom, baby, and I'm manifesting it. Forget about YouTube. We are going to be the top result on Google eventually. Once we hit 10K subs, I'm going to start live streaming the shows regularly. I've got a few awesome surprises lined up for that once we hit 10K, okay? So let's get there. Make sure you like the video and share it around. Help me out, help us grow. I want to give a special thank you to the Polarity channel members. I'm kind of running out of screen room here, which is an amazing problem to have. I'm super grateful for the extra bit of support that you guys have decided to give me and to pledge each month. It really does mean a lot for me. I've got some fun videos coming from my time in Japan, coming to the members only section of this channel very soon. So if that extra sort of behind the scenes and lifestyle content is something that interests you, you can join and become a Polarity member from the link below. And I want to give an extra special shout out to a bunch of you guys who have received your first star on your member badges, because our member badges right here, they rank up every month, just like you do in the military. You gain stars, you gain extra little things on your patch. And we've had a few rank ups while I was away. So shout outs to Kat Simpson, Mick D, Autistic Alchemist, and that is just the best name on YouTube, by the way. Nicole Bordeaux, Psionic Dreamer, I Grow Tube, Kel Cook, Sheldon, a real life homie of mine, love you. Andy Soggy Biscuit, another great name, reminds me of a creepy game that the rugby team used to play in high school. I didn't play rugby for the record. Morlin, Larry Shaw, Philo, Kim Brogan, Joe J. Varga, and Ruben Velasquez. Congratulations on the 1 month rank up, you legends. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Keep being good to each other, guys. Be kind, get outside, touch grass, make sure you're walking your dog, and I'll see you next time.